How often do you go to unclip your dog off the lead and they are pulling and straining at the end of the lead, making it difficult for you to unclip it? Or as soon as you unclip the lead, your dog rockets off at a rate of knots before you've even had a chance to say, okay, off you go. In some instances, it may actually not be particularly safe for them to go off, and that we might actually have to put them back on lead. So I think it's quite a good idea to put what we call a release cue in place that says, okay, now you can go off and do your own thing. And this is what this exercise will take you through. This is one of Rue's most favourite walks, and I chose it so you could see what it's like when a dog is desperate to get off the lead. I'm reinforcing Rue every time he checks in with me, and I'm standing still and letting him look around his environment. And by doing that, what you'll notice is that he very quickly starts to spend more time checking in with me and less time looking at the end of the lead. But if I start to verbally correct him and say, Rue here, and all that sort of thing, I'm just going to nag him and make him want to spend less time with me. What he's going to learn is that the quickest way to get off lead is to stand calmly next to me and wait for me to give him a cue that says you're now free to go. So even though he's spending more time with me, I observe that he is springing up out of position really easily. So when he sits or lies down or he takes a treat, he very quickly gets out of that position and either walks around on the end of his lead or moves from a down to a sit. And this just tells me that he's really aroused and that he is desperate to access his environment, and thus I need to reinforce heavily to try and compete with the environment he is so desperate to access. He's also a little bit snatchy taking treats, and sometimes snatching for treats is a sign of over-arousal as well. And you just need to be aware that when your dog is a little over-aroused, that learning is going to be somewhat inhibited, and so you need to be careful not to ask too much of them too soon. So here I'm still working on Rue just standing with me. Once I have Rue standing, sitting or lying down next to me for a nice duration with no back and forth behaviour, I reach down, fiddle with the clip on his lead whilst keeping him clipped on, and then immediately reinforce after. And that's because so often the sound of the clasp going on the lead is the cue to the dog that you're now free to rush off and do your own thing, and we don't want them to learn that. So I go back to waiting for him to check in with me, waiting for him to stand calmly next to me on a loose lead. I don't want any pulling at the end of the lead, raring to go. And when he relaxes next to me on a loose lead, I reach towards the clip and I immediately reinforce afterwards. If you can fiddle with the clip and your dog stays next to you on a loose lead, then go on to the next stage where you unclip the lead, immediately feed a treat, clip the lead straight back on and feed a treat again. Here I drop the lead and I take too long and Rue rushes to the end of his lead. I don't tell him off, it's not his fault that I'm clumsy with equipment. I just calmly start working on him standing next to me again. And when he stands next to me calmly on a loose lead, I start the process again. I've recognised that the more valuable reinforcer to Rue in this context is rushing around off lead like a hooligan, and that is more valuable to him than my treats. So when he is going to return to me straight away and relax in a really nice calm position on a loose lead, I'm going to reach towards his lead and unclip it as his reinforcer instead of the treats. I unclip the lead, I give him a treat, I clip the lead back on, give him a treat again. I wait for him, he's allowed to look around, he's allowed to realise he's not free. And when he stands next to me and checks in calmly, I'm going to reach towards his lead and unclip it, but only when he's stood next to me calmly and checking in. There is no shame in just giving your dog time to think things through, and here I can see Roo is weighing up his options. I just wait calmly, and he eventually lies down and looks at me, and I reinforce this decision by unclipping his lead. I give him a treat straight away. I clip his lead back on and treat again. And my goal is that I unclip his lead and he stays in position and waits for me to release him. This is my criteria, is that you wait until you are given the word okay to be free. So he checks in again. I unclip his lead. I clip it back on. He doesn't move. I pay him off with the treat. He stays there. I unclip his lead. And then he looks at me and I give him his release cue.